So I say design beats delivery. But what does that mean? It means if you have to choose design. Many people are in a situation where they have to give a speech. As we've talked about, an expert might get called on no notice, 2 hours notice, 2 weeks notice, 3 weeks, a month, even 2 months. It's not that much time. And they have to give a speech. And if you are not already a charismatic presenter, if you have not already been through Toastmasters or, like me, spent a decade of your life on stage as a magician, 10,000 hours on stage to learn to be a charismatic presenter, if you haven't done that already and you need to get up on stage and give a talk, you don't have time to learn delivery. You don't have time to stop saying like, and ah. You don't have time to learn how to get quiet for dramatic effect and then get louder to create contrast, how to make your language go up when you need to make a point and then land it just perfectly. You're not going to have time to learn how to do that. So don't focus on that. If you must choose between design and delivery, design beats delivery every time. And there's another reason, and this is even more important. If you have something valuable to say, and I know that it's important to me, I will be happy to listen to a boring or dry presenter if the information is valuable, relevant, understandable, actionable. And you know this when think about any major national crisis, world crisis, something's going on. If you tune into the news, you get somebody, an expert in whatever the crisis is, delivering. They're usually not a charismatic presenter. They're just talking, sometimes in a monotone, sometimes reading from a script. But if you're worried about your life or your family's safety or health or something like that, and it's in you, so this is relevant to you, and you need to know what to do, you will listen. The fact that they're not engaging or charismatic doesn't matter. Meanwhile, we've all been at a conference and watched somebody get up on stage doing jump kicks and high fives and yelping, and they're funny and they're charismatic and they're engaged. And you're like, this is great. This guy's gonna be great. And then after a few minutes, you realize that they're just not saying anything. It's just, they're not, this is nonsense. You can't understand what they're talking about. You don't know why you're listening to it. You don't know what it's about, how it's relevant to you. And then all that charisma starts to become annoying, doesn't it? Like somebody who's expertly delivering nonsense is just obnoxious. So design beats delivery every time. There's one more thing that design does for you, because it's not just about having the right ideas when you're presenting. It's about having the right ideas in the right order. You can present all of the right ideas, all the stuff people need to know, but if you tell it to them in the wrong order, they won't get it. They won't be able to follow the logic. And something that happens that speakers don't really realize until they're talking out loud, or sometimes they never realize this, which is people do not listen the way that they read. When you read a book, if you didn't get something, you can just reread that last paragraph or reread the last few lines or go look it up and then come back. Like you can take a minute to get it. But when people listen to spoken word communication, they can only hear the speech you give once and in the order that you deliver it, which means if you get the ideas in the wrong order, even if they're all the right ideas, people will have trouble following it. And if what you start talking about doesn't to them naturally or logically follow the last thing that you said, they have to go into their head and go, wait, what were they just talking about? Where are they now? And by the time they figure it out, they click back in and you're on another new point, and then they're lost and they're frustrated. And that's when phones come back out and people just start leaning back and ignoring you, or worse, getting up and leaving, which happens more than it used to because post-pandemic people aren't as nice as they used to be. So where people used to just tune you out, now they'll get up and leave, which means you need to design your speech in a way that you get the right ideas in the right order. I'll give you an example of this from my days as a magician. Imagine you're a restaurant owner, and I walk up to you and I go, "Hi, I'm a close-up magician. Hire me to work at your restaurant." I go table to table and create positive memories so people want to come back again and again. Because you know how often on busy nights, the wait for food will take a long time and people can get really frustrated. Okay, those were all the right ideas. Could you feel that? But it was clunky. It didn't make sense in the order I said them. So let me do that again. So, you know how on busy nights at the restaurant, sometimes the food takes a long time to come out and people can get frustrated waiting? Well, I'm a close-up magician. I go table to table and entertain people while they're waiting for their meals so that they have a positive experience and they want to come back again and again. You can hire me to work in your restaurant. Those are the exact same ideas, simply presented in a different order. But there was an internal logic to the ideas the second time. I started with the problem that was relevant to the person I was speaking to. Instead of saying, "Hi, I'm a close up magician," if you're a restaurant owner, you're like, "I'm not in that brain space," right? I'm not there. That was important to you, the magician. That's not important to me, the restaurant owner. So if instead I start with, so you know how on busy nights at the restaurant, sometimes food takes a little bit longer to come out and people can get frustrated while they're waiting? That's relevant to the restaurant owner, right? And so everything else from there followed leading up to the call to action at the end. You can hire me to work in your restaurant. That's just a little example of how the order of ideas makes a huge difference. And if you imagine that playing out not over 30 seconds, but over a 30-minute speech or an hour-long speech, you can feel how easy it is to lose people without good design.